What's up, everybody? Peter Hostrasser, DisruptEducation.co. I got Derrick Griffin, DG Sachs here. What's up, man? We're gonna talk about some money, I guess. So, but how you doing,
right.
man?
Hey, if it ain't about the money, I don't want to talk about it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, what's going on, man? I'm grateful, man. It's getting ready to be March. I
Mhm.
got a special surprise, I should say, proposal coming up in a couple weeks. So definitely looking forward to that because I've done a couple unique situations like that, and
Mhm.
it's never like a event that I would go to and have like a set playlist. It's like, hey, I'm going to open up the birthday gift and then she's going to come out and then,
Uh-huh.
you're going to come out and my boys are going to clear the way and you're going to do your thing. And so it's a lot of like coordination that goes into it, but I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. So,
Got it. Got it. We're all looking forward to that. So,
yeah,
it's funny. I'm a Seinfeld fan,
yeah,
Curb Your Enthusiasm and such. And we were actually just talking about money right before this.
yeah,
I do remember there was a scene in Seinfeld where he's like always talking about like, well, here's a guy who brings in this. Do I tip him? A
sure.
guy who opens your door at the hotel. Do you tip? How much do you tip them? Right.
Yeah,
So I think it's interesting because a lot of people are a little bit uncomfortable around number one, payment, and number two, like what is tipping? Like what does that look like
yeah,
to musicians and events,
yeah,
whether it's a wedding or corporate event or whatever.
yes,
So I just want to open up the doors on that and like get your
yeah,
thoughts on it so we can share it with the live audience out there or anybody
yeah.
watching this as it's recorded. Because yeah, number one, like what is the payment usually happen? Is it like cash? Is it credit? I know you
Yeah,
work with the DJ firm. I know you work solo.
yeah.
Kind of unpack that first, and then we'll go into tipping.
Absolutely, absolutely. So number one, payment is something that needs to be talked about. And I don't care if you're a musician, if you're a public speaker, it's something that needs to be talked about because I think that's where ultimately you do help to set your worth and knowing what your value is, what you bring to the table. And I've talked about this before in previous lives, but there's a ton of talent in the Chicagoland area. I think the biggest downfall is musicians having the business acumen and having a system in place that puts them in a position to succeed. And a lot of times when I'm having these conversations, it's, well, man, what is it going to take for me to take this to the next level and do this full time? Like, I want this to be able to pay my bills. I don't want to work the 9 to 5. I want to be able to do my craft as what I do as the end all be all. And what I say to that is, you got to start somewhere. That's number one. But once you've established yourself and you have the experience, you have the referrals, you've got the reviews, right? You've got those 5-star reviews and people are looking at what you do. That essentially is the selling point, right?
Mm.
So if you come off with a price and someone may say, well, this guy over here is only charging, $100 or $200. Well, that's that person. But the thing that you have to also understand is you're going to receive a different experience. And
Mhm.
that's what I tell people all the time, right? If they're not within the budget range, right? Obviously, I am willing to negotiate. I'm not just going to, completely, blow you off. But
Mhm.
what it is also knowing that there is a standard that I set myself to.
Right.
There is a floor, right?
Mhm.
And so once you set that floor for yourself, being able to walk away from that opportunity is just as important as saying, well, I'll be willing to do it for this price and go from there. Because then what they're going to do is then tell the next person, hey, I was able to, get him at this rate. And, maybe you can get him at the same rate.
Mhm.
So you don't want to devalue yourself as a musician, as a creator. Like you want your craft to be valued. The other thing I'll mention is you never want to judge anyone's pockets. You never want to think or assume what you think someone is willing to pay.
Mhm.
Put a price out there, see what reception you get back. The worst thing they're going to say is no. And, there have been times where, I did a wedding recently. I work with a great planner, shout out to Rosanna Weddings, and just working with her directly, just getting feedback about, working with certain clients and the feedback that they've given me and just kind of knowing like how to gauge that in the future. Like, oh, well, maybe I should try pitching this in the future. Maybe I should see, testing the waters, right? That's very key. Now, similar to bartenders, for example, right? They always say tip your bartenders. I would say the same should go for musicians. Like,
Mhm.
if you value and respect the craft and what they're doing, you'd be surprised how appreciative musicians are of that and just that acknowledgement, because sometimes me as a saxophone player, I don't always get that acknowledgement. I know that I'm there to fulfill a duty, and that's to do what I love, and that's to play music no matter what, regardless of who's there. Me reading the room, I'm always looking to find ways to just play all different genres of music, try to cater to every single crowd that's in the room. But when you do get that tip, it's that sense of acknowledgement and appreciation, and it just reminds you that you never know who's watching, right? And how that can set you up for the next opportunity, especially being in the industry that I'm in. There's a lot of word of mouth, and that's a lot of times where I've found my opportunities and my residual opportunities, right? We had you for your holiday party last year. We want DG Sax back. He's got to be there. He was the man. He set the party off right. He brought the energy. And so those are a lot of times how payment is directly correlated, believe it or not, with better opportunities. As you increase your rates, you'll start to attract more of the clientele and the people that you want to work with. The communication improves, right? You get someone that's a little bit more serious about yourself. And how does that actually look, right? So let's say I get a client and they're like, hey, DG, we'd love to bring you in for an hour. What do I get for that? Here's the overall payment for the hour. Here's the security deposit, right? And essentially what that security deposit is I need to know that you're just as serious about me as I am about you. Yep. It actually is going to put me on your calendar and on my calendar. I'm going to put you on my calendar to ensure that I will be there that day, no matter what. Right. And that's just a courtesy, right? It's not even just a courtesy, but it's just also knowing that there's a commitment, right? And also understanding that it's a business that you're trying to run too, right? So if you're running a business, this is your livelihood, you're taking care of your family. Like, these are things that you got to really think about as you're trying to build, you're trying to scale your business, right? And if someone doesn't, respect that or sees that as, oh, well, I don't know if I can do that, or, then sometimes you just have to walk away from those situations and find who's going to be in line with you. So
yeah, no, that's good. And that's great advice for any artist or entrepreneur. Right. So what, a lot of the big things right now are about method of payment, right? Sure. I've seen smaller businesses start to shy away from credit card or add, we just had some work done on our house. They were like, yeah, if you use a credit card, we're going to add 3% on because they got to pay that to the credit card company. Sure. What are your experiences with the methods of payment?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, I use a platform called Gig Salad. And when you first start off on Gig Salad, you can start off as a free platform. And what they do is for every single booking that you do acquire, they receive a 5% percentage booking fee for whatever you book, right? And that's obviously to keep their platform running. But the trade-off is they're helping to create leads. They're generating leads for you that you can then return into residual opportunities. The other thing is if you become members, right, of these platforms, right? I've invested into myself through Gig Salad at a rate of, let's say, $479 for an annual plan. Sure. Once I then bought that membership, 1 to 2 gigs would then pay off my membership. And then from there, I knew that my initial investment was well worth it. They then would take a less percentage of your gig for you being a member, right? So there's different workarounds with that. The other thing is you can take a direct payment via Zelle, via Venmo. What I personally would recommend is if you're using any of those instant transfer platforms is looking at Zelle as the most user-friendly. You're going to receive your funds right away. The other thing with Venmo is if you want to take an instant transfer, they do take a percentage of what it is that you would receive. So, as a creator, you want to get every dollar out of what you're granted, right? And there's other platforms even such as Wave, for example. I use a platform called Wave. It's great for invoicing as well, right? So if you're looking to organize your expenses, whether it's operating expenses, creating an invoice for a particular client who needs to pay in a form of a check, which is somewhat obsolete. I will be honest. But there's methods out there for those setups. And I think having multiple forms of payment is very key, especially let's say if you're working with a nonprofit. Sometimes cash payment is going to be the best way to go. But I always say too, for purposes of reporting and IRS, you want to try to make sure that everything is on the books, that everything is going through a business account, and that you do have a EIN number set up. EIN number, basically equivalent to your social security number. And it's essentially your social security number for your business. So if you're an LLC, that's one of the very first things that you want to set up is an EIN number.
Lot about money there, man. I think I need to have you jump in. I think I'm going to show this to entrepreneurship class. Just there you go, right?
Absolutely, man.
But there's a lot of good things there. It was interesting. This was the first time that I did pay for a home, improvement guy, straight up Zelle, and it was great. It was so easy. So great thoughts there. Again, if you're looking for an amazing musician, just go to dgsax.com, check it out. Wow, you got some new stuff up, some amazing videos, great stuff. And you know what? Show the guy the money, because you're going to get what you pay for. Always remember that. That's true.
Don't be disappointed.
So, there you go. All right, Derrick, man, thanks for hanging out with us on the live here. Everybody else out there, appreciate you guys. Again, I'm Peter Hostrasser, peterhostrasser.com, dgsax.com is Derrick Griffin right next to me. We'll catch you next time.